Alright everybody, Doug Lane, Fast Lane Car Care. If you watched the video on the back window, you know we're going to do the windshield on this. I already shrank half of it. I prepped the inside, got rid of the old glue residue. I don't know. It had an inspection sticker residue down there. Had some, looked like probably windshield strip sticker residue up here. I shouldn't say sticker residue, but, you know, whatever. So, just kind of showed you right there. I like to pick my film up, kind of pull it, tighten it up a little bit, gets rid of some of the tension. These windshields aren't really that tricky, but if you're not paying attention, they can, you know, they can catch you off guard and put you in a bind. So, I always lay down towels and stand on this. I know some people use ladders. I've used ladders before. To me, the mirror always seems to get in the way, and it's always kind of awkward. This is the easiest way I found. Let's get started. I usually do the bottom first, so let's do the bottom half first. Using a suede blade, I don't really talk about it, but pretty much my favorite for shrinking. I used to use a felt line Bondo card, and it's, you know, it works. This is just a little bit softer, so sometimes what you will have happen is when you push, if you push a little too far, you'll get kind of like this right here. It's not really a crease, but it's kind of just pinched up, I guess you could say. It doesn't want to, you know, this is soft, so it doesn't push as much. See how it like kind of left that right there? But if that happens, you can usually just flip it over, and you can use the hard card side just fine. I mean, just not my preference, I guess. So, kind of trying to hustle a little bit. I got a buddy coming over here after a bit, looking at maybe doing a project for me. And that's about all I'm going to say for right now. So, good friend of mine. So I want to get this done so we can hang out and BS, go over all the plans that I have. And sometimes, like when I get towards the bottom here and you got a lot of film, don't be afraid to just come down here and shrink out some of that stuff on the bottom. Let the airflow do its thing. You know, a lot of people say you got to shrink perfectly even and all that stuff. You really don't. Really, you're just managing your film, man. You don't want to have to shrink too much of a finger at any one spot or any one time. Now we're pretty much good because here's our line right here, so we just got to get pretty much past this. And we'll be golden. Dry shrink prep, same as usual. And again, here's our line right down through here, so we're good to go. If we want, we can pull up the edge and, you know, double shrink it, but let's worry about this top first. You can do the same thing here. Just kind of start pre-shrinking stuff, just get some stuff moving. So we do have some pretty big fingers up here. What I probably should have done, instead of going about halfway, I probably should have came up about 60% on my line, but it isn't nothing that I can't handle. See how our film's starting to want to go that way? That's all good. Push it that way. It's just going to help get rid of that finger. So I don't know if you can see, but this side's locked down. We got rid of a bunch of film right there. And come back across. Now we got a pretty decent sized finger right here, so we can kind of split it if we want. I'm just going to kind of shrink up here a little bit, kind of like I did on the bottom. Just get some stuff moving. Heat shrinking, man, it's all about reading your film and learning how to manage it, manage the tension, manage, you know, get stuff going the way you want it to go. But also, you know, sometimes you just don't want to fight it. Sometimes you got to go and do what it wants to do. So that's what I was talking about right there. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a little like tunnel or whatever. We can push it right out. It doesn't hurt anything, but just sometimes just using the soft blade, that's just what happens. So I prefer using the soft side over the hard side, but like I said, you can do either one. It don't matter. Now, with these, I generally have more issues with the top. You know, sometimes you get a little finger up there on the top. You can come by and hit it with the heat. But it's kind of dangerous on the inside, you know what I mean? With the headliner and stuff, you got to be real careful you don't melt the headliner. That stuff's really fragile. Just a little bit too much heat, and she melted, you know? So, I suppose since we're over here, we might as well just do the bottom again. Lift up on it a little bit. Manage that tension. Down here really doesn't matter because we're going to cut it all out anyway, but still, everything looks good. Go over here to the other side. Might also notice I already did the quarters. I know on my other video on the back window, I was talking about how I'd like to do like one film at a time, but I just decided I wanted to go ahead and knock the windows that don't roll down. I want to knock them out first today. Honestly, it's really good for you, especially if you're starting out, to be in a routine. Do the same thing every time, and then that way you can kind of get an idea of what works for you and what doesn't. If you're constantly changing the way you do things, you know, if you run into problems with, like, you know, the film doing a certain thing or getting a lot of contamination or whatever the case is, it's a lot harder to pinpoint why, because you're bouncing around doing this and then the next car you do that and blah blah blah. But whew, talk too dang much. But I gotta just tell my buddy on the phone, man, I like to explain the how, the why, because it's one thing to watch videos and watch somebody do it, right? But it's a different thing, you know, to have somebody explain it, to explain the why, to explain what's going on, because when you're starting out, man, that stuff's important. What were we coming to get? Oh yeah, we were coming to get this. And then it's 35. I could probably cut it with the lights on. We'll see. Yeah, we'd probably be all right. Let's go ahead and snap to a new blade though. See my heat press there. Getting back into, well, I guess I'm getting back into, my fiance's never stopped, but doing some shirts and stuff like that. We bought a sublimation printer, honestly, just because we're gonna offer our own merch. We did Teespring, and you know, I know a lot of people do it. It's not really for me. I mean, it makes, like, they take a profit, you know what I mean? They take part of every sale to cover their expenses, right? It's drop ship or print on demand or whatever. So you, as a creator or whatever, you don't have nearly the amount of responsibilities as you would if you handle your own merch. But the flip side of that is you really have no control. We should have ordered some samples. I mean, we did, but we didn't order that many samples, if that makes sense. So we did like a pair of leggings, and they're trash, man. Pair of leggings with our logo, my logo printed on them, and they're pretty much, they're garbage. My fiance didn't like the way they feel. They are just, I don't know, like all spandex or lycra or something. Like, they're not good quality. So it's pretty disappointing. So we decided we'd go this route. That way we could have control over our product, the quality, all that stuff. We will probably ship eventually. Right now, neither of us really have the time. That was my whole plan during the winter, right? Like, this is the slow season, so I was gonna have air fresheners made, because my customers really liked having the air fresheners. Every car I would do, I would go ahead and throw one in the car. People really like that. And it's basically super cheap advertisement, right? Because most people never take their air freshener out of the car. Like, even after it's done smelling, you'll still see air fresheners hanging up there. So pretty cheap advertisement. Worked out for them, worked out for me. So we bought all the stuff to make our own. I got something like half done, but not ready to go in any cars yet. Like I was saying, like, this is supposed to be the slow season, and it really has not been slow, which is good, but it's also bad too. You know, pros and cons of everything in life. So really in this unique position where I really need to hire some people, but working out of my home garage, I really, you know what I mean? Not that I wouldn't trust them, it's just there's only so much space. You know, like right now, if we want to use the heat press, we really can't have a car in here. We don't have space to do both. So, you know, pretty much like after hours is when we work on t-shirts and all that good stuff. Stickers we can do a lot of different stuff, but yeah, so I'm also working on trying to get a place. Those of you that have followed me for a long time know I had a place, but the landlord, basically I leased half the building off of him, and then his business went out of business and ended up, obviously, you know, he's got to pay the bill somehow, so he leased out his half to some gambling, you know, skilled game place or whatever. Ended up having drugs in the bathroom that we had to share. There was a window busted out in the parking lot, one of their cars or whatever, so really just wasn't where I wanted to be. I didn't want to have to worry about what was going on there after I left, what was going to happen to like customer cars, you know, because sometimes people, let's say they work, you know, they may not work until, or get off work until 5 or 6. So what they would do, if I knew that it was going to be after I close, like after I leave the shop, I would send them an invoice, like pay with a credit card, and then you know, they could do that on their lunch break or whatever, pay with a credit card, and then I would set the keys in the drop box, or some of them had spare keys, you know, I just lock the keys in it, whatever. But that made it really handy being able to do that with you know, my system and all that, because then I don't have to sit around and wait to get paid. They can get their car whenever they want. And kind of a silver lining to that, my system has a tip screen, so a lot of times I get tips too, so I get paid more. You know, a little bit more, which really just kind of cover the card processing fee, because you know, it costs money. But give this a good little shake. think we're just about ready, guys. Let's go ahead and get in here and get this windshield prepped and give it a final squeegee and stuff. But yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm at. Just kind of trying to make several things happen. We just got to see what actually comes to fruition. Being a small business, even though, like, I don't really want to talk about numbers a whole lot, but the business is doing good. You know, it's doing pretty good. Talking to some lenders, and they're like, well, you know, you're actually claiming a profit. And, you know, you did. I claimed a profit my second year in business, which is, I guess, pretty rare. But the problem is every bank has their own kind of little hoops to jump through. So trying to find the right lender and trying to get the right deal put together has been really time consuming. Like, let's say you want to go, you as an individual, you want to go buy a new car. You know, a lot of times you don't even have to show proof of income. You know, you just tell them, hey, this is how much I make. You give them their, you know, I mean, your information. They pull your credit, say, okay, this guy's got decent credit, good credit, whatever. And they put the, you know, they put the financing together, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. You're out of there. You're off with your new car. You buy a house. When I bought this house, pretty much, what did they want? They wanted 2 years tax returns, I believe, and 2 months of pay stubs, which, easy peasy. When you want to get a business loan, or you want to buy a commercial real estate, I can't speak for every bank. You know, can't speak for every area or anything like that, but they pretty much want everything but a stool sample. I mean, I'm serious. They want, obviously, your tax returns, all schedules. So every document that you have for your taxes, which when you're self-employed, it's a lot. So I've got to scan all those in, you know, put the file together. Plus they had a whole worksheet that they you know, had me do. That was, you know, how much of the business do you own? How is it structured? LLC, S Corp, sole proprietor, blah, blah, blah. You know, does anybody else own part of the business? Have you ever had any bankruptcies? You know, all this other stuff. I mean, one bank wanted to know how much inventory I held too, right? Like how much money I have worth in film, tools, all that stuff. I mean, I get it, you know what I mean? But it's just crazy. Like all the hoops you have to jump through. It's certainly not simple. It's very time consuming. And then every bank has their own, like, amount of risk that they're willing to take, right? So, like, a lot of bankers, they just don't understand window tinting. They don't understand the industry and how much money can be involved in it. So, they, you know, if it's not a slam dunk deal, you ain't getting no money. So, trying to put the right deal together with the right lender to make something happen. I'll tell you more about it, like, if it actually happens. I don't like talking about my next move, you know, my plans or whatever, because a lot of times when I do that, in fact, most of the times when I do that, for whatever reason, you can call it whatever you want, universal power, karma, God, whatever you want to say. It almost every time ends up backfiring. Like, I'll be like, yeah, we're going to do this, do that, and then some unforeseen crazy circumstance happens, and then that doesn't pan out. So it's like, you know, what are you going to do? So I don't want to talk too much about what I'm going to do, what I'm planning on doing. I will say one thing. It's not my first, second, or really even third choice. I don't think you guys have ever seen what's on the other side of this wall, but essentially I have another garage bay over there. Like third or fourth choice for getting something done is to knock that wall out, finish out the other side. It's pretty much just used for storage. You know, the people that I bought this house from, you know, they never obviously ever thought about running a legit full-scale business out of here. So, you know, that side was really just for like storage. When they added on, I think they really honestly just did it for like their lawnmower stuff, because it's got a door, you know, regular garage door on both sides. So on the front and the back of the garage, so you can like drive through, because they were kind of silly when they built on. They've built on to both ends of the house, and so now technically I only own about 2 feet on either side of my house. Just about enough to mow. I think it's actually 4 feet, but still, you know, legally, technically, I can't drive a vehicle into my backyard, right? Because it's too big. Now, my neighbors are super awesome. We all get along. So, it's never been an issue. It would probably never be an issue, but I think that's why they did the pass-through garage, so that, you know, they can get their mower or whatever onto the other side. But that, if we get that done, that will give us 270 something square feet, I think, extra space. So this is 545, so, you know, pretty much half. Give us half of this garage extra, which, you know, still really isn't big enough for what I want to do, but... And that's probably something that will happen even if I don't find the right lender. I can just pay cash for that, because it's really just kind of ballparking prices on stuff. It's probably only going to cost me, depending on how much of the work I do myself and really what all I want to do, probably about $4,000 or $5,000. So which, you know, a lot of people will be like, man, that's a lot of money, but I mean, it's definitely not a small amount, you know what I mean? But for what it'll do for me, for the business, and for the resale value of this house, it's super worth it. So right now, I have, you know, from the time I bought this, just because real estate's going up, and, well, it's kind of like normaling out right now, but it's went up so much since I bought this place. It was, I bought it for $94,000, and we're just in a little town in Ohio, so it's not like crazy small, but, you know, it's not like I live in the capital or anything. So you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, full basement, 3-car garage. Yeah, it's decent. But now, right now, with just the curbside, you know, Zillow estimate, whatever, based on the square footage, all that stuff, it's worth $229,000. So I've got plenty of equity. There's a couple of houses around the corner, like literally in the little subdivision behind me, that have sold for $300,000-$400,000, and they're really not, I mean, not as good of a package as this place is. You know, they're always missing something, like less bedrooms, less bathrooms, or they don't have a basement or whatever. So, you know, it's all gonna matter or depend on, you know, what somebody's looking for as to what it's worth. But I guess the main point I'm trying to make is putting a little bit of money in this house doesn't really bother me, because it's gonna pay off pretty big in the long run. And that's just how I am. I'm a long-term thinker. I'm not really, I don't want to say I'm not worried about tomorrow, but I'm not focused on tomorrow. I'm focused on next year. You know, I'm trying to make good decisions now. That's the way I've always been. Try to make good decisions currently that will help you out in the long run. Like, you know, I see a lot of people in the groups talking about like, oh, this customer sent me a picture. I know he rolled his window down too soon. What do you guys think? Well, you know what? He might have, or she, or whatever. You know, they might have rolled their window down too soon, and that's why it started to peel or whatever. But you got two choices. You can be in my opinion, a-hole about it, right? And be like, nah, man, you clearly rolled your windows down. I'm not fixing it. Or you can say, hey, look, you know, just be straight with me. It looks like that's what happened, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna replace it for you anyway. So what are you out? You're out a few dollars in film and 20 minutes of your time to fix it, right? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Depends on how fast you are, whatever. What window, you know, what kind of window it is. Some are a little bit more, you know, some are a little bit more difficult to hand cut than others, but regardless, you treated the customer right, they're gonna treat you right long term, because they're gonna be like, you know what, I messed up, but he still hooked me up. He still, or she, whatever, if you're a female tinter, you know, they treated me right, they got it taken care of. You know, I'm gonna go there forever. I'm gonna tell all my friends about it. So you lost a little bit of money today, but you know, you gained their business for their next car, their husband or wife's next car, their friend's next car. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it pays you back. So me, I'll trade $20 now for $2,000 later. Like, I ain't worried about that. So well, same deal. Yeah, I'll put some money in the house, and then, you know, whether I decide to sell it down the road or keep it and rent it out or whatever I want to do with it, either way, it's going to pay me back. So I won't really worry about it too much. So 35% on this whole full windshield. Now, one thing I will say about doing windshields that I don't like is you probably look and see these little specks and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got all this contamination in here. Most of these are going to be little tiny rock chips or little bits of stuff that are just stuck on there that didn't come off when you cleaned it. Stuff like that you don't notice when you don't have your window tinted because there's no border, right? You're just looking through it. They're so tiny, they're very difficult to see. But once you put that border on it, that stuff sticks out. So just be wary of that. Like, sometimes you'll have customers call and be like, man, you know, this, that, and the other. And you just gotta be like, hey, look, this is just what happens, because this is a essentially 3-year-old car. Like you see right there, there's a rock chip that's probably been filled. You got these little tiny impact marks. A lot of times you'll have scratches where the windshield wipers have been left on, or they also collect dirt, dust, stuff like that. And you see like the perfect outline of where the wiper was. So, you know, all that little stuff comes into play here. But with that, we got the windshield done, back glass is done, quarter windows are scraped and done. So now we just got to turn our attention to these roll-ups, bump them down, make sure that you know, all the glue residues off of there. But before we do that, I'll show you how we put our mirror back on. We didn't really have to take it off. Clean up our mess here. You can see I got my soak rope down in there. Didn't really have to take it off, but it just makes it a little bit easier. And on these GMs, they're not hard at all. Especially when a customer has like all these chains and stuff hanging down off of there. You're gonna have to try to fight the tint. So just pops right back on there. Whoop, we got company.